Hello everyone, my name is Gary and you're watching another video of me making a track. I haven't made any video or played Zeepkist in a while, and there's no real reason for that. What I can tell is that this video has been a long time in the making. This video is special in that I was asked to make a track for an event called PCDJ. And while my track has already been featured a long time ago, I only now decided to make it public. And this is actually the behind the scenes of this track. The first thing I worked on was the cup, because I wanted to give this a sort of tournament feeling. I wanted to make a large inflatable cup. Okay, to be fair, the first thing was the layout, but the first deco was the cup. So the layout was actually built a few days before, because I wanted to show a empty track and deco around it. By that time I already knew that I wanted to participate in this event as a track builder. So I wanted to make something challenging, but not too challenging as per the instructions. And one of the things I wanted to do was start with a launch. And that launch had to be vertical and then a vertical drop. So one of the problems I always have with these tracks is I start with a theme, in this case a vertical launch and then a vertical drop, but I find it hard to make it a recurring theme. A good track actually uses something they use at the beginning throughout the entire track. I unfortunately am not really that great a builder. I am trying to improve on that part, but it's really hard to stick with a theme when you have a lot of things that you want to add. But eventually I settled on this track and this layout. What people really underestimate is clutter. Sometimes you want to add a lot of clutter, and while that does bring a lot of life in your build, it also adds a lot of blocks. And you do want to limit the amount of blocks you use, because the more blocks you add, the slower your maps run. And the slower your maps run, the faster the maps get skipped by people, especially the streamers that you want to showcase the map to. So for the podium, I actually wanted to make a small cup. I'm pretty sure nobody noticed it because nobody actually pays attention to the podium. But still, it's a nice addition, so I had to make this one. What I also often do is add stuff in the background that nobody actually pays attention to, hopefully, because I don't put a lot of detail in it, but enough detail to make it not seem empty. In this case, it's a parking lot with a long road stretching out to both sides. And the main problem with this is the draw distance. If a player has a low draw distance, the road won't get drawn. So I need to keep it short enough, but long enough that it stretches out on both sides. Another thing that's important to me is that the track is completely supported, so it doesn't float. Nobody really notices that and nobody really cares, but to me it adds a bit of realism to it. I also wanted to add a spot where all the sponsors of this event are shown, like in actual tournaments or racing events. It's nothing serious, it's just something for fun, and it's a great way to add my own name to it as well. So the one thing that took a lot of time was the grandstands. I wasn't sure how to build them, and I needed to add a way to actually get up on these grandstands and not have some, I don't know, some magic or something. So I had to first make the grandstands, then a way to get from ground level to one of these grandstands, and find a way to move from one to another, because there are multiple that I had to build to give several angles, and that was a lot of figuring out. And as you can see, I added some support for the walkways and stairways and such, and eventually I did actually have to remove some of these parts to keep the block count as low as possible. Like I said, you don't want to have too many blocks, and you don't want to have unnecessary blocks, because there is a chance your map will run slow if there are too many blocks. So at this point I am actually cluttering and testing the track. I already tested the track before I decoed it, but testing the track also helps figuring out which areas are a bit too empty. But in this case it also serves a second purpose. I wanted to check how the character will ragdoll at the end. What I often do is I add a cobweb at the end so that the ragdoll will actually stick to the cobweb, kind of like a net. In this case, so that the ragdoll won't actually fall off the stage. So you don't want your racer to fall down several meters and injure itself. So yeah, it's unnecessary, but it's something that I wanted to add for the lore. But yeah, after that it was just mainly finishing touches, add more clutter, add a few more things like trees, and also the initials for Petit Coup du Jour. And yeah, basically the track is complete. So finally, here's the overview. As I said before, it starts with a launch and a vertical wall ride, and it's not a hard track, maybe for beginners, but even then, it's doable. Yeah, I probably could have shaved off a few seconds, but overall I am happy with the results. Yeah, anyway, this is the track, and I hope you actually enjoyed it. As always, the link is in the description. I will actually make it public soonish, at least after this video is done, but I might keep it unlisted for a little while as a bonus for those who watch this video. And as always, see you again soon, and until next time.